Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Sublevel 3. Instead of a regular review today, I'm going to be doing something a little different. This might end up being the first in a series of segments. I'm calling it First In, First Out. And the idea is that I don't have a ton of space in my home for board games. I know some of you have entire rooms dedicated to board games, and that's great. But some of us have a little bit of physical space limitations going on. So at a certain point in my collection, maybe about a year ago, as a guideline, I decided that I wasn't going to have more than a certain number of games. Now, at first I tried to pick a specific number, and that felt a little too limiting. So instead, what I'm trying to do is just be cognizant and mindful of when I buy a game, is there a game that maybe should go to someone else now that I've gotten this new game? Is there a game that maybe isn't probably going to see play again? And the reality is that as my collection has grown, I just don't have enough time to get to every game that I've played maybe once or twice. I mean, we all have a shelf of shame probably at this point, or a lot of us do. Some games that maybe we've purchased and have just been sitting there. So with that in mind, I thought, well, you know what? Let's start sharing with all of you what I'm bringing in and why, and then what I'm bringing out and why. So let's start off with First In. One of my new purchases was Dice Throne. Dice Throne is a great new game, and it's scratching an itch I didn't really know that I had. And that is to say that it's a game that maybe comes off as a little simple at first. For an experienced gamer, it might seem a little meatier, but the basic mechanic of it there is sort of a Yahtzee-style mechanic where you're re-rolling dice, and that's great, but it's not exactly complex. I got to sample this game a while back before it came out, and what shocked me was how instantly thematic it felt to me. It was, I was playing a 2v2 demo that the designers helped set up, which was great. They had a really successful Kickstarter, by the way. It's being re-released right now through Roxley, and there's a Kickstarter for Season 2 on the way, which I'll explain what Season 2 means. But Dice Run basically is a head-to-head, think like King of Tokyo meets Magic the Gathering meets Overwatch the video game. So you're playing a character, you're rolling dice, and you're using card manipulation to help those dice and do damage to your opponent. You can play 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2. You can have a free-for-all. The game has a lot of play to it, despite being pretty simple. And like I said, that might be a turn-off for me on a surface level. Like, for example, I think King of Tokyo is a fine game, but I'm not really going to be going back to play that a lot. It's just a little too simplistic for me. But for some folks, that's right at the perfect level. And this game fits at a level that I didn't think it would, which is that it's the game that's simple to pick up and put down, first of all. You can play a game in maybe like 15 minutes. So it's a bite-sized game. But it also feels very modular, and it feels very replayable, and that there are all these different characters, and they act in very different ways. You know, the Paladin feels super different from the Shadow Thief, and their styles of play are completely different. I really enjoy that. So that's my first in, first out. Oh, I was going to explain what Season 2 means. So Season 2 on Kickstarter, they're releasing a whole new set of characters. All the characters are interchangeable, so you can just sort of mix and match and create teams. The other thing I like about this game is that despite the simplicity of the mechanics, the depth of the characters there are such that it really inspires my imagination. As a person who's done role-playing games and has been a game master plenty of times, this game feels to me like one that instantly inspires story ideas. Like, I almost want a macro game of this, like a tabletop board game version where you move the characters around until they clash with each other, and then you separate and play out head to head with whichever characters met up on the board. So yeah, that's Dice Throne, and look for it. There's not a huge amount out there right now coming to your local game shop, so keep an eye out for it. I'm sure there will be reprints, and season 2 is coming along on Kickstarter right now. So that for those new characters, there's all kinds of great stuff for this. This is going to be a great little universe they're setting up. I can feel that Roxley's going to take good care of this title, and yeah. So keep an eye out for that. Get a playtest in if you can. It's a lot of fun. So that brings me to the First Out portion of First Out. And where I'm at with certain games is that I play them, and I may or may not like them. Generally, I don't play a lot of games that I don't like. Mostly that's because I scout the games beforehand, or I try to get a play test in or watch some videos. So I know beforehand most of the time if I'm generally going to like a game before I buy it. That said, there are certain games that I've purchased where I sit down and maybe because of my particular group, my play group, or some of the finer details of the game come out in full play, and then afterwards I'm kind of left with okay, that was fine, but maybe it wasn't what I was quite expecting, and then it ends up on the sort of the back shelf of the game collection. And then maybe a year passes, and I realize that I haven't played it because there's so many other games that I prefer. So for me, that game is Betrayal at the House on the Hill. And this is a game that has a big reputation. A lot of people love it, and I hope you realize that I'm not trying to knock this game. There are just some things about it that don't really do it for me. It's a nice horror-themed tile-laying game that's cooperative until it's not. Which actually, that mechanic is great. I love mechanics like that. I'm one of those people that I'm a fan of Battlestar Galactica. I like hidden deduction games, social deduction games. What I don't like about Betrayal at the House on the Hill was that it felt great until the haunt happened, and I realize that this is probably a common complaint from what I've heard, that once the haunt happens, the game changes in a way that can feel, it can be random in a way that takes away from the play value of the previous part of the game. And for me, that was just a bit of a deflating point. And it's happened enough times playing this that I don't really feel the need to pick it back up very often. Certainly it's been in my collection for a while now, and if somebody came over to my house and we were playing a game night, and they said, "Oh my God, I love Betrayal at the House on the Hill. Can we please break it out?" I would have no problem doing that. Like I said, this is not a personal rip on Betrayal at the House on the Hill. It just doesn't fit my play group or my personal play style very well. So that one is going to go find a new home for somebody. So I have a copy of Betrayal at the House on the Hill that I'm going to make sure lands in the hands of someone that will enjoy it. Yeah. So that's my first example of a first in, first out. Please feel free to hit me up with questions on Dice Throne or Betrayal at the House on the Hill in the comments section. As always, if you're looking for any of my other stuff, please go to sl3.co. That's sublevel3.co. And you can find videos there, articles, podcasts, all kinds of good stuff. And until next time, keep playing. Take care.